This is Lauren.
This is Trey.
And this
is the Partnership Podcast. So what do we do when we get in our own heads during lovemaking?
Baby.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
We're going to jump right in.
Yeah, let's do
listen,
it.
We have limited time.
Let's talk about sex.
We need to talk about this.
Let's talk about sexy times. Go ahead, please.
Do you remember what we're going to talk about?
Fuck yeah, I do. And it's important.
It's important.
It's important.
So, Trey and I got into a sexual encounter the other day. We got into it. That's a horrible way to say this. I actually work in this profession.
Sounds like we did something illegal. We got into a sexual encounter.
We got into a sexual encounter.
It was very erotic. It was consensual.
It was consensual. It was erotic. It was in the middle of my Sunday, like my day off. Should have been makings for a wonderful sexual encounter. Mm-hmm. And then it was not.
Well, technically it was also. There was a wild beginning, middle, and end to this. Mm-hmm. So
we thought we should talk about this.
Yeah. Lauren she's in her ovulation times. And
powerful times.
For penis owners, that's when a lady is super fucking horny. Even for vulva owners, that's when a lady is super fucking horny. And so I came up to give her a little kiss. She was working upstairs in our bedroom. I was going to the golf course to be frustrated. And so we ended up, things got erotic.
Well, he comes in looking all hot in a blue polo shirt, which, audience, look at this man's eyes. They're the most gorgeous eyes. You usually don't see him in colors because he wears black and white almost every single fucking day. But sometimes he will surprise me. And he'll wear like a blue shirt, which makes his baby blue eyes
It's about as wild as I get. Blue.
And I think he was maybe not even wearing a hat. Maybe you were wearing a hat, but I like you with a hat. Anyway.
Keep going, baby. I'm just checking.
You were sexy and desirous to me in that moment. You checking our levels? Great. And yeah, I had just finished my work. I was horny. I was like, let's do this. So I totally initiated. I climbed on top of you, started kissing you, started yeah.
And I became turned on.
And you became aroused.
So we ended up having marital sex. And some interesting things happened while we were in the process of lovemaking where I got into my head. This is so interesting where I ended up getting soft. Mm-hmm. And it was because I got into my head of, you just came. No, that's not true. You've come twice already. Mm-hmm. In the basement. You were really putting in work down there. You better have enough to perform right now for your wife, or you'll make her feel bad. And in my mind, it's like, what the fuck? And as soon as that happened, guess what happened? My peen started getting soft. And then it's like, holy shit. And then you try to reassure yourself. It's like, don't worry about that. And then it's like, you'll flip the switch. And then it becomes like a spiral. What happened with you?
So I was turned on, so when I initiated the sexual encounter, I was turned on, and I had come from 3 hours of working in bed on a day where I technically shouldn't have been. That's my bad. So I was still working oneself out of work mode.
You're still in your masculine.
Yeah. And so for me and I love being in my masculine. It is what gets shit done. But then to translate over into, now I want sex, and okay, now I'm working to arousal. Our audience knows we say this all the time, but 20 to 40 minutes is a completely normal time for a person with a vulva to reach orgasm in a partnered sexual encounter. And so we usually don't give my body any time frame. It gets all the time in the world. And yet you had walked in on your way to the golf course. Mm-hmm. So I got in my head that my inability to switch from work mode to passionate, orgasmic wife mode was taking too much time, was keeping you from something you needed to get to. I hadn't done a check-in. I hadn't been like, hey, babe, do you have time for this? I had just kind of rolled on top of you and been sexy.
Which is completely consensual.
But I hadn't checked in. I had not used any words. Mm-mm. So I got into my head, Lauren, come. Like, oh my God, would you hurry up and come so this man can get to the golf course? Because now you're keeping him from that.
Was my penis getting soft
Well, this
a
is coming.
precursor?
No.
It
I was
wasn't.
already there in my head. So then
This is taking too long?
Yes, huh?
Before the soft penis?
Yes.
Okay.
So then the softiness comes in. I love that we're saying this. This is not a medically accurate term. And then, oh God, then all of old traumas start to come in. So then I'm like, you're not attractive. You're not arousing enough for him to stay erect. He is not actually attracted to you. There is something majorly wrong with you. And why did you even do this? Why did you even think that you were sexy enough to initiate an encounter with him? It went to bad places because, reminder, audience, I was married to a guy who's now gay for 10 years, and we did have sex. We had sex enough to make a child, and we did have other sex, but he was not attracted to me. And that is fine. God bless him, but we shouldn't have been in a sexual encounters together. And so when it was just often, and I was told that, well, it's because your vaginal muscles aren't tight enough. I was told lots of things.
And all of the stuff started, your word, flooding back in.
Flooding.
To the scene of us, like, inside of each other and smushing genitals. All of this was going on in my head, in your head. What happened next? Or can I say it?
Wait. Then, so, I mean, it gets worse. So then I'm self-criticizing these types of things. And then I'm like, I think I knew that you had come once, and I think I knew that you had said, because I had gotten out of bed early probably to do whatever, because I love to get up and out. And sometimes Trey has a beautiful morning masturbatory practice. Great. But then we had been in a space where you had told me.
We talked about it. That's right. Because you were going to like, God damn, this is intimate. You were gonna masturbate too, or something like that.
I feel like we had a conversation. You were like, great.
It was a highly like sexually charged morning, and we were both, because Mondays are my busy day.
Yeah.
And then you happened to be working, so we were both. There was a lot of sex.
Solo sex
charge.
is so celebrated in this house.
Yeah.
So like, I think we had some other conversation where I knew you might have already come again.
Mm-hmm. I was putting in work
but then,
in the basement. I was putting a hurting.
We talk about body-based beliefs, right? We've talked about porn several times on this podcast.
Yeah.
So, you start to get into my body. I'm not enough. Oh God, why can't you come? What's wrong with you? Oh, he's not attracted to you. Then all of a sudden, deep-seated belief from days gone by is like, zoom. And then I'm like, oh, it's because you're not this fantasy from porn. And yeah, it's because you watched porn. And so now you aren't enough.
And that's wild, because porn, the best analogy ever. Whose credit to Fast and the Furious?
I don't even know. We use it so often in my industry, but go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So even with your training, because porn is like Fast and the Furious, where like learning how to drive is okay. Yeah. Porn is sex to Fast and the Furious is learning how to drive. I'll get it right someday. So even with your training of, I can't provide XYZ from, an image, even though that's not real, like I'm not going to get into my car and go Fast and the Furious trying to go wherever I'm going to go. That doesn't matter.
Well, not when what is flooded, not when all of these other narratives are coming on. And that's a body-based belief from my indoctrination and all of these types of things. And the answer is not then to shit on myself more. The answer is to have compassion.
Yeah.
But right when you're swirling, you're swirling. And, the truth of the matter with porn, and you and I have said this, is that porn is great and it is easier to come to an orgasmic response when you are alone watching porn of your choosing,
Sure.
right? It is only that.
Yeah.
Right. So as a sex educator, it would be wrong of me not to say, no. It's a beautiful sacred practice that I think should be protected and respected. And it's not another body. Right. And so then I was like, oh, like please hear me. Okay. This is my stuff. But like, if he hadn't have come twice already, he wouldn't be getting soft because he would be here more with me. Mm-hmm. And so God, porn's of the devil, right? Which is not true. It's not true. But this is where body, right? All these beliefs are swirling in my head. And I'm like, yeah, it was just
this is from the person that you don't want to be and no longer identify with.
Of course.
Or maybe you identify with, but just like no longer want to be. But it was almost The memory of it.
I heard this thing about flooding the other day, and that's like literally you can't separate truth from fiction, right? Is there some truth in there? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right? And, right, there was a lot of fiction in there, a lot of fiction.
What happened next? Can I tell it?
Yeah, because I've talked a lot.
I needed to declare out loud what was going on in my mind to make it clear that, like, all those things you just mentioned weren't going on for me. So I said, I was like, baby, I'm sorry.
I let it first.
I'm sorry?
I let it first.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just said, like, hey, do you have somewhere to be? And I go, not at all. This is where I want to be. And then I had to declare, honey, I'm sorry. I'm getting soft. I just came, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes ago. Like, I was really still probably in a refractory period. And so I just had to let you know as well of what was going on. And that instantly helped.
Yeah. I think I said, honey, I'm getting in my head. I feel that I'm taking too long.
Yeah.
Do you have anywhere to be? Would you like us to postpone this to a later time?
Yeah.
Because I am sure all of our audience listening who have been in sexual encounters, all of a sudden feelings of rejection start to come in. You start to think like, oh God, like once the brain starts going there, it is really hard to like track back.
And for me, it's feelings of not being good enough and not doing my job, like as a man and a husband and a provider. So it's those feelings of like not being prepared, you know?
Yeah.
Because we didn't schedule this.
No.
I didn't think this was going to happen. But then it's feelings of like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you wasting your precious gift on mere images
Right.
in your basement, which you putt and masturbate in?
Oh,
Make sure and subscribe to this one.
Yeah, and it was hilarious because I think probably you were having the same thought I had, which was, well, can't wait to tell our podcast audience about this.
Not in the time, not while I was inside you, but
I did. I literally was like, well, we'll have to talk about this one.
you were making content in your mind? That's
I was
funny.
just thinking, I obviously talk about this all day, every day, but this is such a common problem. It's not a problem. It's an issue. It's a thing that people in sexual relationships experience sometimes.
Yeah.
And it is awkward and it is hard and it is sad in the body sometimes. And that's okay.
What happened next after we declared out loud what was going on?
I don't know. You tell me. What did?
You had kind of a soft kind of a orgasm. Like, that'll do.
Yeah.
Maybe like eating Subway, or it's like there aren't any other options and I need something in my tummy. So you had a basic orgasm, and then we talked a little bit more, and then we discussed some erotic things. And this is after we had declared. And I don't want to get into like graphic details, but we ended up communicating and kind of taking our time with each other. And then there was no break. And then we had some wild sex.
Yeah.
Like really memorable, connected. I think we were very much connected in being authentically flawed. And that all kind of went away. And kudos to us because we said it out loud. We said the hard thing that we were scared of. You're scared of holding me up, or you're scared of not being enough, and I'm scared of disappointing you and not being like a good provider. That's some core shit.
Core. In both of us.
Yeah. I don't think I went to like as dark of a place. But I mean, that's not to say it wasn't. Yeah, those things are there. So yeah, then we ended up having like a wonderful sexual experience. Neither one of us, like, we decided like, hey, let's hold off.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about too, is that we say often on here that being entitled to connected pleasure is different than being entitled to orgasm and making the goal of orgasm so important that you lose the sexual experience. And so, yeah, I had a meh orgasm, right? And then that's when we communicated a little more. And then we just kept talking. Then it turned literally animalistic. And yeah, I know you're thinking of the positions that we got into that I'm thinking of. And I think you said, do you want to try to come again?
Yeah.
Right? Do you want to go try for a second orgasm? And I did for a while. And then I was like, you know what? I'm good. Like, this feels really good. I'm going to save mine.
It's almost like we had like a true resolution to it.
Yeah.
Not saying that there was a problem, but no, that's not true. That's not the case. Usually we associate problem where it's like, you've hurt me, I've hurt you. There wasn't really any hurt, right?
No,
Or
I
was
think
there?
we were in each other. I think we were both in our own minds. I think that maybe we projected a little bit, and we've talked about that ad nauseum on this podcast. But this concept that, was I projecting on you that I was taking too long?
Yeah.
Was I projecting that, this was too much work compared to a masturbatory practice? Was I projecting these things that I was unattractive and undesirable? Yeah, that's all projection, all of that. So that was my own stuff to work on.
What's it called where I'm in my head saying like, you better do a good job?
Yeah, and that voice you don't think was coming from me.
No. Where I would like hypothetically it'd be like, no, that'd be blame where it's like, this wasn't scheduled or I have to go. Or,
Emily
I didn't do
Nagoski
any of
calls it
that.
our inner critic, our inner sexual critic, and that we all have one. So maybe that.
Yeah.
We were just both battling voices in our mind, and I am so proud of us that we were able to name them as our own voices and not blame something else.
Yeah.
Because that would have been so easy to blame blame the poor timing, blame so many things. And we didn't. And
I've done it in the past with like former lovers. Yep.
And I could feel my body at total transparency. I can still feel it in my body. I am still healing through some of those things. And I think it's important for our audience to know.
And then checking in. Is there anything I need to own? Is there anything I could have done differently in the moment? Okay. And then my job is I actually have to like trust that. Because there's something in my body where it's like, ooh, I can do better. There's a lot of that in me. Kind of the good boy narrative where it's like, I can be really good. I can do better.
The greatest gift you can give me is, wow, baby, I'm so proud of you for continuing to work on this. I trust you.
Okay.
You let
Yeah.
me know
Trust.
if there's anything I can do.
That's a hard thing for me to,
This is my job.
I can do that. I can trust into that. And then I can trust that you're going to let me know if I can do anything.
Because
I
that's
can
my
do
job.
that. Thanks, babe.
I need to, literally said this with a client earlier, step into the ring of the wheel of consent and be like, hey, this is what I need. Will you fill in the blank? But that is my job. All you can do is say, I trust you. Let me know if there's any way I can support you. These old body-based beliefs, wounds in my body are healing, and they get the space to. I was in a really, really rough marriage for a decade. I have a lot of sexual wounds, and that triggered one of them. It is not your fault. It is just an experience, and I get to have that experience, and it doesn't get to ruin our partnership. Not at all. But it is so seldomly triggered that it doesn't get touched and massaged a lot because I feel desired by you like 99.9% of every single solitary day of my life. And so it's not something I work on often. So I'm just giving myself patience to say, Betty Dodson says if we believe that we get orgasms and romance and eroticism in abundance, does that set us free to have all different kinds of orgasms? Yeah. Sometimes they're not going to be great. And yeah, total transparency, audience, mine have not been that great coming back from this. There's still, I can feel it in my body. This is the catch-22 of becoming so embodied and healing with oneself, is that I can feel where it's living in my fucking pelvic floor. Like, oh, okay. And she deserves love. She doesn't deserve frustration. She deserves, hey, let's name the real source of this. Because the real source is not your loving husband. It's not. It's not. It's, no, I was desirable back then, and I didn't have the tools. I didn't know about agency or autonomy to be like, goodbye, motherfucker. Right? I didn't have those tools. And so I'm healing her day by day, and yeah. Our bodies, everybody is pretty familiar now with the book, The Body Keeps the Score. Mm-hmm. Like, this stuff lives in our bodies. And I believe we can create enough chaos in the brain through play to write new sexual narratives. And then I believe that also sometimes things will bubble back up and we get to address it. So I am.
Great.
Yeah. But we did. We communicated through it. And I was so proud of us both for being like, I need to say something. It needs to come out of my mouth. This insecurity that I'm feeling right now. And boy, did it open our hearts. And you know what's so fun is that, yeah, it makes me love you even more. I think one of the lies in the back of our heads, right, is if I share this bravely, it might reflect negatively on me.
You got to take the risk.
Uh-huh.
Because then the payout is like, it's out there. Mm-hmm. There's pressure taken off. And then you get rock hard.
Not always.
Always rock hard. Make sure and like and click that like and subscribe button.
Yeah. It opens a flow of communication. And even if that flow is but a trickle in the beginning, mm-hmm. It opens the flow of communication, and that is intercourse.
Mm-hmm.
And
well said, babe.
yeah. So thank you for doing that with me. I really appreciate it. It makes me fall more in love with you.
Thank you.
The honesty.
Thanks, babe.
And no one likes to be a mind reader, and none of us should be mind readers.
No, it'll get you in trouble.
Right? So for you to just name what was going on with your body and your mind and your anatomy, and for me to name my fears, and, I feel like I'm failing you by not orgasming as quickly, right? Like, and that I feel like I'm making you feel like a bad lover for not making, right? Like, it was just so nice to get it out in the open. And then for you to say, no, you got all the time in the world. And me to say, no, you don't need to, no, you are enough. You are so much more than enough. You are the greatest thing, greatest provider, greatest sexual partner I've ever had in my life.
Thanks, babe. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's wrap up this super short episode.
Great.
Because I got places to go, people to see. Thanks for listening to the Partnership Podcast, Lauren and Trey. Remember, these are our opinions, our lived experiences, and if they don't benefit you, leave it alone. Take what you like, leave the rest. You have a right to informed decision-making and to self-determination. We share these stories in the hopes that you're like, oh, wow. Yeah, I had that experience last week. We hope you realize that we are human beings, and we hope that it benefits you. But again, if not, no worries. Have a great rest of your day, all. Bye.